Repackaging a rocket engine part 2. I promised you this. There is no explanation, so don't proceed anywhere. Just finishing the already known ammonia persulfate rocket engine mix that I've done before with the silicone. Didn't want to bore you with the same thing all over again, so I'm going to keep doing this. And when I'm done, I'm going to stick it in that empty Estes rocket engine casing. I'm now stuffing it into this empty rocket engine housing here from Estes, which you've seen before, and I'll show you what I plan on doing to prevent it from just leaving the housing and shooting up by itself, which unfortunately happened the first time. Okay, I'm going to finish packing this in here really good. I'll be back. I finished packing the empty rocket engine housing here. You can see it showing through on the bottom right there. And what I plan on doing to keep the fuel inside is to drill some small holes around the edge here and then pour some epoxy in here. And that'll hopefully seep into the holes and also adhere to the interior of this, holding the fuel down so that it takes off with the housing, with the rocket. I still need to drill a hole down the center, which you do with these types of rocket engines, so I'll do that too. The holes were drilled on the top here, and I put in the epoxy, which did seep into them. You can see a couple of them there at least, and that's JB Weld. That is not going to move, and I drilled the hole all the way through. I will position the engine into this rocket again, glue on those 4 fins, and we'll launch it. Engine's been inserted and glued really well again, and I put the fins on, and this thing is ready to launch. I really believe these Estes rocket engines can be used again, so if this doesn't work the second time, I probably will try a third time. Looking at this right here, it looks like nothing happened, right? So I turned it over and yeah, it burned right through that nozzle. So I might be wrong about this whole thing. Back to the drawing board. Back to the drawing board means this. I have a test tube here, a plastic one, and I used this in an earlier video where I was making my first APCP rocket engines. And I'm going to use this to just insert that into the housing of the Estes engine because it works so well. Check this out. So I'm just trying to get the rocket off the ground at this point. And so I'll fill this. Watch that video if you want to see how I do it. And we'll try to actually get it off the ground. I finished mixing the ammonium perchlorate mix here. I did change the composition slightly as the most recent composition I was using was just burning through everything. And I couldn't even contain it. It just runs with so much energy when it's lit. So this is what I did. I used the ammonium perchlorate 12 grams, silicone 6 grams, and aluminum 2 grams. So less ammonium perchlorate and more silicone. Aluminum's the same. And I'm hoping with that mix, it slows it down just a bit so that it will stay contained. And so this is going to go in here like so. I need to glue it well. This is made exactly like the previous one I made when I first did a video on ammonium perchlorate rocket engines. And the reason I use kitty litter mixed in with the epoxy is because the kitty litter will not burn. If you pack enough of it in there, most of this is kitty litter, and the epoxy is just holding it together. When this thing lights and takes off, it won't just burn through the epoxy. This nozzle will hold its shape so that it can successfully launch. So let's glue it in there. You'll notice that blue cap there. That's because the original, before I worked on it, looked like this. And I realized that if I put the cap back on the test tube, it added enough of an edge that it caught the edge of the old Estes rocket housing there. So unless solid matter goes through solid matter, this is not going to leave without the rocket. I just drilled a hole in the top, of course, to open it up for the nozzle there. And I used Gorilla Glue. And I should have been using this all along. If you've ever used this stuff, it foams up, grabs everything in sight, and holds it together. And that's what I used deep within the tube here of the old Estes engine. So that's not going to move. I really think this is going to shoot a launch, I should say. And let's go do it. The fuse has been inserted and I'm ready to go here. I think movement will occur. I don't know how much. It's pretty heavy actually, this rocket, partly because of all the glue I put in there earlier, but we'll find out. I hope it at least gets off the launch pad. No matter what happens, I think this will be the end of me trying to launch this rocket. my gosh, that was pretty darn dramatic, actually. Got the dogs coming out. Well, that's definitely it for this rocket. Just a close-up of the demise of the rocket.